everybody. How are you guys today? I'm sitting here shaking, thinking, oh God, please don't let me have screwed up and sent out the promo too late yesterday. We've got Nicol here. As you all know, I've kind of been raving about her. I'm a massive fan. Lisa's already heard me. I've had a couple of conversations going, oh my God, Nicol's gonna meet me.
Oh my gosh.
Well, what happened was I heard you talk on the APA webinar, and you were the first expert that I've listened to when they ask all the questions about what to do and how to do it. You were the first one I've listened to that I walked away feeling like I was the same as you. Not like you were something I had to someday try to attain, but I'd have to do a complete mindset shift and become a different human being, and then I can think like the experts. But you were like me and like the 800,000 other voices of narrators that reach out to me and ask me, you know, what do I do? I'm going through this, I'm going through that. And you seemed so calm about the whole process and about finding yourself in the process that I booked Nicol for a coaching session before the APA. And I have told everyone since then, you are the reason I didn't make a complete idiot of myself in like total, I get a bit like a 10-year-old on a sugar high with too much socializing. And I won't say I didn't embarrass myself plenty, but you were the reason I had a positive APA experience this year because of that one coaching session. And I'm very grateful for it.
So grateful you got all of that out of it, and I would venture to say you're the reason because you did the work. But thank you. That means a lot to hear all of that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And yeah, anyone that knows me knows how it could have gone.
We're all like not only champing at the bit to just break free and get out and be social. And I am a hugger, but I also understand the repercussions of that for many people. And so I get it. I'm with you. And I am all heart and emotion and, you know, whether that be up or down. So, you know, we have our bigness. We share, I think, a bigness in different ways. And, but I get that. And, you know, we are all, we all have things that make us similar and we all have things that make us different, but that's also what makes this community you know, for the most part, the most amazing community that it is. And because there's room for all of us, you know, there's room for all of us in our own ways. And that's the thing, I think, because I felt that when I started in this business and I was welcomed in a way I have not been welcomed to many other places. Many other creative communities. And I know it exists and it's out there. And I do have a creative theater home back in New York from many years ago that was very much the same thing. But coming into the audiobook community, that was the first place that felt like home since I had been in my theater home. It was the first way artistically and creatively that I felt like people just opened their arms and says, oh, great, you're here. Come on in. Not, well, what have you done and what should I know and how should, you know, who did you study with and all these things. It was not any of that. There was no challenge to it. It was just, oh, welcome. And so if I can then pass that on, then I have done my job. So,
but can I venture to say, when you started, I hear so many people that was their experience starting, and Johnny and everyone, but I think you started still when it was a smaller community. And now I think because people feel pressure to do promo and marketing, I have people coming back to me feeling, everyone keeps saying it's welcoming. This isn't me, because I started before all the promo and marketing. I didn't start when it was like a small community. I started kind of in between. And it's still friendly. I mean, I think we're so strong because the nature of our jobs, we have to stay open and and vulnerable. So even the ones that are just coming in now, and the impetus is all on marketing and promo, a lot of it, they're still here for a reason. We're still kindred spirits. But I do feel that it feels, because it's so big and massive now, and it feels there's a competitive voiceover kind of vibe coming into it. And, voiceover,
Oh
very
yeah.
business,
Oh yeah.
business, and that vibe is starting to try to come into audiobooks. That's what I'm thinking. It's like the challenge to bring the vibe of the small community even now.
I will say absolutely. Even I feel the shift and the change in the wind, so to speak. And I think many of us do. And I also think that that is the thing that happens in an industry that has grown exponentially over the
Yeah.
years, which is great for all of us. I mean, that's what we want. And so we have to take everything as it comes. And even I have to say, I have felt, in the past, I have a love-hate kind of old grandpa relationship with social media. I do.
Yeah.
I so appreciate it for the amazing things it can do, like things like this and bringing us together and being able to meet you in that way.
And
And
Facebook birthdays. I love
connection and
Facebook birthdays.
yes, sure, absolutely,
You
absolutely.
feel like the biggest star on earth on Facebook birthday.
Absolutely. But I also am very, very clear on, to me, social media is like the drug that has not been tested by the FDA and just released into the wild. And we have no idea. We're starting to understand. Also the repercussions that come with that psychologically, emotionally, all of that. And just in general, society wide, politically, everything, all of it. I mean, come on, we're not blind to it at this point. So
Right.
even I, who started out feeling like, I just didn't want to utter a bad word. I feel if I'm going to be in this space, then I want to put forth things that mean something to me, whether that was career wise. And I got back on social media 10 years ago because it honestly really did help me get to know people within the community. I don't know that I would have the career that I have without having connected to people in that way. So I absolutely understand that part of it. And now even I am seeing many members of the new classes coming in. And I say that, I don't know if that sounds, I don't mean that, because new classes doesn't mean anybody starting from scratch. There are some narrators that came into the field after me that are far surpassing me in their talent and their ability to navigate so I say new class, and I mostly just mean that as timing, who are just killing it in the social
Yeah.
media game. Like I am at once like thrilled and cheering for them when I see it. And like I've been noticing that also. I'm like in my heart, I'm like, oh my God, I am so failing at this. And what do I need to do? And do I need to stay relevant in this way? Because it's just, it doesn't light me up the way it lights other people up. And so sometimes I do, and I get that urge and I want to say something, or, there's a really great book that I loved and I really want to at least post about it, that it's out, and leave it at that, or whatever. But I have to really keep having this conversation with myself lately that it is okay for all of us to have different ways of doing it. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
those people that are so great at it and really are winning at the game, and I am truly, truly impressed. And what I don't want is for there to be any bitterness that comes up in me. And it's like, it's okay. I can learn from these people and see what they do. And then I can take it and decide, hey, does this mean something to me? Do I need to try to push this button or get with that? And I think this goes with everything in life. You
Yep.
start to understand
Yep.
what's important to you and what isn't.
And that's what I'm saying about people that take coaching and everything. And at some point, you have to start running everything through your own filter. At some point, you have to be, and also the social media thing. I think you've got it right there, is if you look at it one dimensionally, but then since I started Joe, those same people, you think they're lit up and excited and happy about it, but then they're sending me messages feeling just as insecure and freaked out about it as everyone else. So it's like, part of me hates the fact that it feels like an obligation, and that even everyone is trapped in it, and everyone feels like they have to do more and more and more. And everyone, even the ones that are like smashing it, I mean, maybe there's some that are having a wonderful time and enjoying it. Because I'm a
Sure.
Facebook girl. I love Facebook. But
Yeah.
I hear so many people, they might be smashing it, but they're feeling at their core like something's wrong with them. And,
Well,
you know,
and yes, and I think we all fall, we can fall onto many sides of that coin. And some people are doing it because they do love it and they've got a creative idea and it's a great creative outlet. And some people do it because they feel, oh my God, if I don't, I've got to hustle,
yeah,
I've got to do this. And we don't know. We can't judge that because that's
yeah,
also part of the social media. We don't know. And we can only wish and hope that, the people that are doing it are somehow will find their own peace with it if they don't have that. And that's the social media game no matter what. And that's, we have a responsibility to ourselves. And look, the industries in general, even as an actor, even before all of this, it was started, people get jobs because of the number of followers they have, not because of the talent. And I think we worry about that in this industry just as much as everything else.
do you think
Um,
that happens in this industry? It does, doesn't it? I never thought of it.
I don't think so. I actually don't,
Yeah.
because I don't think in this industry you can exist without some level of talent. I don't think you can. Look at how
Hmm.
hard the job is. We are the blue collar workers of,
Yeah.
of a creative industry. We run the marathons, we do the work, we do the behind the scenes research, we do all of that. And we do it, occasionally there's, there's a begrudging moment or two if something's a little off or whatever. As with any work, even when you love it, there are moments
Yeah.
when you need to take a breath or be a little grumpy. And that's okay. But I don't say that to think that there's anybody in our business that's doing that, because let's face it, if people can't take the time or if they can't get past a few minutes of you telling them a story, you're not
Yeah.
gonna, so you have to. I truly believe that, and I think that's what makes this community as a whole, no matter how much it grows, and even with the ups and downs, the great and generous and welcoming community that it is, no matter how big, because we all know what we go through, even if we do everything drastically differently. And there's that moment of being able to identify with one another in that way. And so, when I can look at the people that do their great job with social media, I know that just because I don't doesn't mean they respect me any less. And I think that we have to look at it the same way we would look at being a consumer. If it doesn't work for us, it doesn't work for us. If we need to send a message that way, then we send a message that way. And we have to find other avenues of connecting with producers, authors, members of the community. And, I do think in some way connection is important. We all know that. We've all felt that. We all know, especially with the numbers growing the way they are. But
Okay.
also hopefully we do that through our work as well.
Okay. You brought me to the crux of the
Uh-oh.
reason the reason I went to you, and I think and usually it takes me like 45 minutes. We did this in 16 minutes to get to the exact thing that I want to find out about your soul. So
Mm.
I like to scare my guests.
No, bring it. Bring it.
Okay. So what attracted me to you as a coach, why I reached out to you, was because I liked the feel of the way you looked at your job and the place in your job and your place in the industry. It didn't make me feel bad about myself. There was enough room for everyone, and it was genuine. But then when I looked at your website, and everyone says you have the bar none, the best website. And the reason everyone loves your website, well, me personally, it was the picture of the boxing, but the reason everyone else loves your website is your bio is, again, right to the core, none of the ego crap. This is who I am. I'm excited about who I am. This is the good stuff. And before we started this call, you said you want to do things, and I'm struggling with this at the moment, trying to live a life because I want to live a life and go towards the things I'm excited about, which is always a strong place to go from, rather than because I should do this, I should do that. Like you wake up in the morning, it's like, what's broken? What do I have to fix today? But how did you get I mean, were you just always like a centered, happy girl, or how did you
No.
get to this point? And do you have a struggle with it? And what is your journey with it? And what is your secret?
That's a great and detailed and personal question, which I have no problem sharing, but it may or may not be about books.
And
So you can
don't say anything
stop
if you
me.
feel too personal,
No,
though.
I don't, because, I think that something I've learned to own in the past few years is that the only real commodity is ourself. The only commodity that matters is us and who we are and how we affect the people in our sphere, whether it's our loved ones, the people at the corner store, the grocery clerk. I was in a crappy pattern of things. Not bad, not dramatic. I did not have I'm very, very lucky. I did not have a life-altering accident or seeing my life flash before my eyes, but I did have a very big awakening in my life personally at, it'll be 10 years. And I was not happy and fulfilled, and I was I'm thinking about how to say all of this, but I was, just the long story short, I was not myself, and I knew it. The one thing you asked, if I've like always been this great, happy, no, not at all. But the one thing I always knew about myself was I had hope. I always have had hope. And I was at a point and living a life that was by no means terrible. There were good people around me, but we were not able to grow in the ways, we were not able to grow in the same ways. And I was growing apart from the people I was with. And I kind of looked and realized that I had no more hope. I had lost it. I did not recognize myself in the mirror, physically, emotionally. I would think about my life and think, if it all ended tomorrow, I would not be proud. I would not be okay. I knew I was missing something. And I even talked about it with the person I was in a relationship with at that time. And we knew we were missing our life, but we could not get out of the cycle. And again, an amazing person and nothing tragically bad or wrong, just not growing in the ways I think we were meant to grow together. And so I made a change. And as I did that, everything opened up. My first audiobook came through. That was when I found boxing. That was when I got myself back to myself in the mirror and in my heart, and everything opened. And so I think that experience feeds everything about how I feel. Even on my worst, crankiest, I have a mouth like a truck driver, guys. I apologize ahead of time if I let something fly and it offends anybody, but like on my worst fucking grouchiest day, I can get
your
back
audience. We're narrators.
Yes,
really.
yes,
It couldn't shock us if you tried.
And so that is the thing that informs me now. And when for whatever reason, that was the wake-up call I needed in my life. And it informs every choice and every decision I have made since then, because it was eye-opening and awakening to me. And as I started doing all of this and doing the work and making these choices based on that, moment of looking inside myself, I feel like my life started to get really simple. I am in a gift of a relationship and have been for 9 years now. And we knew coming together that if we were going to live this life, we were going to make these same choices for our individual selves and what lit us up individually, as well as then how we could come together and, you know, create a life as in a partnership. And so every decision that I make is just based on that. And sometimes I make mistakes, a lot of them. And sometimes I try some things and it works for a while and I'm like, I'm not really feeling this anymore. But it's these moments and these ideas. And I feel like doing that, my life got really, really small and simple and as beautiful as I could have ever imagined it, even in the shit. And so that's where I come from. And that's the thing that informs a lot of it. And it just feels really, really precious. And
I should pay you for being on this call. You just made me realize what 7,000 self-help books haven't, because I had major things, didn't give me any awakening. I still taught along trying too hard. But what you just said, because you know how they say you can't change people unless they're ready to change.
Yeah.
You decided, I think people think if you get in a car accident, it's going to change. It's not, sorry.
No, you have to want it. You have to be ready for it.
You decided, and it got simple. And that's, I make everything really complicated because I'm over trying. And I think what you found is yourself, your groove, and you just go from that strong. Do you meditate or do anything to remind yourself of this, or just?
I do. And I'm constantly going. And I also make things really difficult sometimes. Like I have a tendency to want to complicate everything. And I do it. And I do. And I have to, you know, and sometimes I'll go for days like a spinning top that just won't stop, because it's easier to do that than sit and think about, well, what's really going on. So yeah, I still get caught up in it. I'm just really, really lucky that I eventually either will get to the moment myself of, okay, enough of this, sit down, listen in, or I have people around me that care enough to say, hey, what's going on? And even when they do, I might want to smack them. And it might take me another 10 weeks before I'm ready to sit down and look at what's going on. But then their voice will be in my head and, you know, be, hey, sorry, I smacked you, but you were right. It just needed to get there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, by no means, I know that relentless positivity is really annoying and also just really harmful in our culture as much as negativity. And anything I've ever tried to put out or be positive about is not because of a perpetual light that shines, because sometimes I need to
kind of
put
like
a cover
relentless
over my head.
positivity, Nicole. I know everyone's like down on it, but the alternative is horrible.
It is to me. I can't function in that groove too long, but also I think we have to understand both sides. I think if you want to take this out of audiobooks and look at everything that's going on with us societally, if we can't stop and look at what the other person is going on, even if there's something, even if it's just someone who, you know, just wants to complain all the time about all the crap, well, what is it like to be in their shoes for a minute? And maybe their life really isn't crap, but in their mind, that's the story they're stuck telling themselves. And we have to have that moment of acceptance of what that is and where they're at without needing to try to change them or wanting to change them, because we can only all be where we are. And like you said, if you're not ready to change, it's not going to happen. And that's okay. Like, this journey is not the same for all of us, or we'd all be blonde and in white gowns and, I don't know, crazy cross-eyed looks on our faces.
And I hope every single one of these calls takes it out of audiobooks, because I learned after like the fourth brilliant coach that came on, and it's that old thing about actors, our job is to show up naked. I'm totally mangling that quote and I know it, but our job is to show up naked. Enough. That's it, because the rest of the world doesn't have the guts. And so we have to, like, our job is to work on ourselves, because that's who we're showing up as. That's who we're bringing.
Yes.
So you
and
can't
I work.
Just,
I do work. It is not something that comes easy or naturally, you know, and I have a partner who works his ass off to be the best person he can be, and like to watch somebody else do that. And I know I have to say, I know how lucky that makes me. I don't for a second take that for granted. And I don't even know how the hell I got that lucky. And I just am grateful for the gift as I have it. But with that, even when there's other people in my life that don't do that work or kind of want to rain on your parade, I know that when I go home, I get to let all of that go or let it out or let it affect me, and then also take it and try to turn it into whatever I need it to be, or not, or let it go and try to let it slip away. And every couple of years there's a new layer of skin that feels like it needs shedding, and I'm very much in what I am hoping and praying is a transformational period of my life right now, because there's a lot of my own just stuff about myself that I'm really, really struggling with, and not in a traumatic and harsh way, but just in the everyday makes you kind of crazy and drive yourself nuts thing. And I am reminding myself to not let it take over, or on the
Keep it
days that it
simple.
does, be there and ask myself what it's really about. And I'm at a point where I'm finally getting my ass up and ready to do something about it, because for a while I wasn't. I thought about making that change, but I wasn't actually ready to do it. And I'm at a point where I at least feel like I'm ready. I'm making steps to be ready. I'm taking steps. And so I'm hopeful that what I need, I'm able to do for myself. And if I'm not, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So I work constantly at it. But I'm also, for whatever reason, something happened to me. It was like, I think the universe just implanted this little bit of gratitude in my brain that doesn't go away. So even for the hard stuff, it makes me feel like this is the stuff of life. It makes me feel like I am alive
Yeah.
in noticing things in a way. It's like when you have that line in a movie that just punches you in the gut, or
Yeah.
you're reading in your next book that line of beautiful poetry, like, oh my God, I can't believe they put those words together. And so that's how I feel about this stuff of life on a regular basis, is it just kind of knocks my socks off that way for a minute or two. And then you got to go about being the regular person that you are, because, we are all human together in all of this. And there's a lot of human shit that happens on a daily basis that just we get lost in. But there are also, in tandem with that, these glorious fucking moments that are there if you look for them. And
And bringing the
that's my
person, because
approach.
when you said that everything you're saying is triggering so much. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Sorry about that.
it's so good when you said that about losing hope and everything.
Mm.
And you get to a certain age. I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and it's nothing to do with your actual age. It is that and I saw, she won't mind me saying this because she posted on social media, Emily Lawrence posted pictures of
Oh,
her new
yes.
hardwood floors. And
Yes,
oh my
yes.
God, they were gorgeous. And it made me realize that, because I always ask myself, if I put 15-year-old me in my life right now. I read a
Mhm.
book about a girl that lost her amnesia from the time she was 18. So she
Mm.
woke up a mother, and like in her mother's life, but she thought she was 18, like the day before. And I always think, what would
Wow.
I think? And 15-year-old me would be like, oh my God, you've got this and you've got this. Oh my God. And would be like running around doing all, but like 99-year-old me is
Mm.
like, oh my God, what's the point? And if I and when I saw Emily posting that about hardwood floors, I always wanted hardwood floors. And I
Mhm.
thought, we wake up every day with our goals, right? What are my
Mhm.
3 goals that I have to work hard to fix myself? That's the premise. I've got to
Mhm.
fix things and try to get better. Whereas when you're in your like early 30s, 20s, it's more about like, ooh, what can I get? What flat can I live in? What's the next exciting thing I can do? And then kind of you get a few setbacks. So you know what
Mhm.
I mean? I know hope goes much deeper than getting hardwood
Oh,
floors,
no, no, no. But
but
but this
I,
is all relevant.
yeah, you want to wake up with things you're excited about, things that like, ooh, I get to do this today. I can get this, and maybe I can get this. So I'm playing around with the idea of, instead of goals, like, what do I want to get by the end of the year? Like a shallow 20-year-old would do. You know what I mean? What, you know, what?
Stop judging yourself. That's the thing. Stop
Yeah.
judging yourself. If
Yeah.
you want something, so Martin, my partner, he pointed something great out to me not too long ago. And he said that he's like, you only get iffy when you aren't sure you can say yes. Whenever the answer is no, you know right away. You don't ever have a question. No, that's not right. No, this isn't good. No, I shouldn't do this. He's like, the only time you question yourself is when you don't want to give yourself permission.
Ooh.
I
Oh,
know. He
he's
blew my
smart.
freaking mind with that. I know. And I think about that all the time. And it's so true. But I think many of us do that. And it's the big theme, large and small. One of the things I think that I've been working through for myself are the stories that I have told myself from growing up, which, as I look back, I realize that I don't think anybody else in my family even knows what the hell I'm talking about. But they're
Like, what
stories I told
stories?
myself just about, who I was, or how people thought about me, or what I was supposed to be, or how I'm supposed to act, or that I was a loser artist who never made any money, or that people are always going to be worried about me because I don't have the same kind of money that my relatives have, or a corporate job, or own a house, or any of those things. And honestly, it's probably really recently that I'm realizing that none of those other people even know these stories. They're the
No.
stories I tell myself. I love Brene Brown has this great, is it one of her TED Talks or it's a video or something about the stories that we tell in our head. And she
Yeah.
has this great conversation between her and her husband, and she's thinking her husband's not paying attention to her, and he's with somebody else, and what's going on, and they're on this family vacation. And finally she's like, after 3 times of trying to get the response she wants from him, she says, okay, honey, the story I'm telling in my head is that you've got another woman and you don't want to be here and you're thinking about, and he's like, oh my God, no, I had a terrible dream that we were in this lake, which they were happened to be standing in the moment, and that the kids were drowning and I couldn't save them. And I just can't get that out of my mind. So if
Totally
we
different.
just learn how to freaking communicate with each other and
Yeah.
be vulnerable in that way, as hard as it is, and it's really hard, and I was not good at it in previous relationships. I was not good at it at all. And it was a hard lesson to learn. And even in, just with family and friends, but I think that's the stuff this all comes down to. And it's also the stuff that I think ultimately informs our work. I mean, informs what we do.
And the social media, actually,
And that
because
too, absolutely.
all the June is the audiobook. Okay, I will be
Yes.
honest. I know it's about narrators supporting each other, and I was good for the first like 700 posts. And then when they got to the day, let's tell everyone how many audiobooks we each have. I was, and I do thrillers, so this is my excuse, literally planning homicide in different ways. But I'm thinking, when I was in like 15, 16 years old, I had a thing I did where I had a hot body when I was 15 or 16. And that is pretty much why I was such, you know what I'm, oh, thank you. But when I was 15, 16, there was a reason I was always happy. But part of it was that the first 5 people I met every morning, even if they were my family, I smiled, a genuine smile, made eye contact, and said good morning to. And that was my thing that I did. I thought I was so smart. I heard it on a radio show somewhere. And as a result, I never met people that didn't like me, ever. And I want to do that on social media. I want to reach out to the first 5 people on social media every day, whether it's a friend or somebody that's on my list or, on social media. It should be one of those people that triggers me. And mostly because they're my friends in real life. There's nothing wrong with the post. Everyone's doing what they have to do, but I need to connect in that way and say something genuine to them, because I don't see them in real life. And it's easy to turn people in your head into.
It is, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I have to say, though, a couple of things to that, because again, with all the social media stuff, and we all use it to promote our work. I mean, it's
Yeah.
part of our business. It's part of, you know, sometimes I honestly would really love, I think different publishers and producers and authors will all have a different answer, but some of them expect a lot of it, some of it don't care. And somewhere in the middle is all of us. And it's all okay. And but there will always be people for their own self that need to put out there and feel good that they've hit this milestone.
Mm.
And that's them. And yes, it may hit you or me like, oh my God, who's bragging? But that might be,
you don't want to think that. And you love
no,
them as human beings.
of course. But also, there are huge accomplishments and milestones. I mean, I am absolutely in awe and have such respect for the people with hundreds and hundreds of books. And I get that way myself. I think, oh my God, am I not working hard enough, fast enough? Will I ever get that? Does it take, but then I stop and I'm like, does it take anything away from me?
And it's a
No,
scarcity thing. You're right.
doesn't.
Because if you
It's
just
just
got booked for a
exactly.
big book, everyone in
Exactly.
posting is wonderful. It's if you're having a bad day and you woke up late and didn't finish what you're supposed to do, suddenly
Well, it is.
you
It's
feel
all
bad.
perspective. And we all, and but also, and if that person needs, if that's for them,
Yeah.
what they need to get them through the day and bolster their own confidence, then fucking go for it. I can
Yeah.
be a grown up, and I, you know, we can only do this for ourselves. You talked about being 15 or 16. You woke up with that smile. It's because you were happy. You were who you were,
Yeah.
and then you woke up happy, and nobody can do that for us. We have to find whatever it is, and again, I'm struggling a lot with some of that stuff from myself. And what is it that I feel like there's this one or two things, but they've been big things and they've been bugging me for a while that are, I'm very kind of hippie woo woo with my language, so go with me, but like that we're out of alignment. You know, everything,
Yeah.
like it doesn't feel like it's in alignment with everything else that's happy in my soul. And I'm like, well, I gotta fix it then, because it just drags me down. It
And
drags
your
me
job
down.
is to show up naked in front of that mic. And if you've got a
Exactly.
crack in your soul,
Yeah. Well, and I
yeah,
mean, and I think we have to acknowledge these things, because
yeah,
these things that drag us down are part of that nakedness and are part of
yeah.
our vulnerability and are part of how we understand each other, and can look at that person whose post maybe makes us feel like we're not doing enough and understand, well, hey, maybe we just need to celebrate them today, and that's okay. And that doesn't
And
have to take anything away from us.
if I'm honest, and you say acknowledge it, it's not because people's normal posts don't bother me at all, but the combination of the 10 photos of things that are going great and the 30 days of everyone posting, that did me in. And I think what it is it feels like you have to do this too to be part of the tribe. And I get triggered when I get feeling like I'm supposed to be part of the tribe.
Well,
So
and a lot of that is part of the shift and the change and the growth of the industry, and how many more
yeah,
people are in it, and how much technology has changed even in the last 10 years with the
yeah,
ability to do these things. And all of that is part of it. And so, but again,
you
you
got to
don't
go
have to
back and keep
do
it simple.
anything but be the narrator you are to be a part of the
Yeah,
tribe, and
yeah.
show up to the community however you can, and with I say with generosity, because that's how we operate in this community, to the best of your ability. Some people can pull it off really well, some people can't, some people, and not everybody is perfect, and not everybody, you know, has open arms, but I would say 99% of our community does. And so,
I can't actually think of one narrator that doesn't. I
no,
literally can't think of one.
yeah, yeah. But, you know, so that's it. That's it. That's all
Yeah,
you have to know, is you
yeah,
just show up as you are with what you do. All the other stuff is bonus and icing on the cake. And if you feel like you've got this book, and or if it's a tandem release and it's a author that you want to help promote, or a producer that you got really excited to work with, and you want to just shout that out and thank them, just like so and so with their 700 books needs to do and celebrate, because let's face it, that is a fucking accomplishment. It doesn't matter the size of your accomplishment. If you feel the need to put it out there, put it out there. We will all
yeah.
celebrate with you.
And I
And
blame
it
the
doesn't
damn
have to take anything away
Puritans.
from us.
Because the feeling, because I realized something. I'll have no problem bragging about a book because I'm thanking the author. I have
Right,
no
right.
problem going total hyperbole about a Joe guest or a call. I post
Sure.
all the time, but those I've got an excuse. It's the Puritans. Don't brag. Don't be proud of yourself. Don't want more for yourself. It's like a mindset. Work hard and be proud of that, but don't want things, the trapping. Just want to work yourself to the bone and like get more. That's a puritanical kind of mindset. I want to
It
go the other
is.
direction.
Well, I would say to that, do it in a way that feels right to you. If you don't want to outwardly, or just be vulnerable. I mean, I don't know. I live in that space, so I love it. It's one of the reasons I love Tanya Eby so much, because she writes and puts herself out there in such a way that I don't know anybody that can't identify with her
Every time
as
she
a
writes
person,
something, you
and
think
it's
she's like your best
beautiful,
friend.
and it's gut-wrenchingly honest and
Yeah,
gorgeous, and
yeah,
it gives you such a perfect sense of who she is, or at the very least, who she would like to put out into the world. You know, I can't ever claim that social media, it tells us anything about anybody who really
yeah.
is. So I clarify that only, but like, and I, that for me, that it works. I identify with that. I feel kindred to her spirit in that way. It doesn't work for everybody. Some people are really great at just flat out putting out their, hey, I did 10 books this week and I feel great. And that's how they do it. And that's their style and that's who they are. And so I think we just all have to find our way of having it work for ourselves. And it might be some trial and error. And some days it might be a direct hard sell. And other days it might be, hey guys, I really hate talking about myself, but I'm really excited about this. So bear with me. I'm going to post a clip to this book. And that's it. There's no
Yeah.
actual professional guidelines toward this. We are in an industry where we ride a line between needing to be our personal selves and come across professionally at the same time. And some days that's easier than others. I personally love being able to ride that line because I've never been a suit and tie kind of girl. And so that works for me.
Yeah.
Other people really love being wrapped in the professionalism of it and won't show up to an event without a suit and tie and their best this and their best that and be super professional and have all this. And that's what's worked for them. And I don't take away from any of it. A lot of times I feel like I should be more like that. And that's my should. But we have these groups, we have these calls, we offer these thoughts and advice, and we all have questions we want to ask. But the thing, and I actually am probably going to reiterate Tanya, because I also watched your talk with her.
Isn't she amazing?
She is amazing.
Because
She
what you
is
said
one of
about her
my,
writing, then you see the talk, and that's who she is.
it is,
And
it's absolutely who
and
she is.
I would argue that even if somebody's putting something out to the world and that's who they want to appear to be, they chose that, and we're all the creators and designers of our own lives. So that's
Yes.
who they are. If they tell
Yes.
me that's who they are, that's who they are, because everyone gets to decide who they want to be. So the
Right.
whole thing with social media being fake, to me, it's the best of us, because this is who we all want to be. And I love that about social media.
And I think it can absolutely be taken that way. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's also other things that come up that are the worst of us, but we're not talking about that. We're talking
Yeah.
about us in our, but also, and I think Tanya said this, and it was so on point. I think I kind of cheered on my couch when she said it, because, when we see all the Facebook groups and all the advice, and sometimes we need to ask a question like, hey guys, man, this is what I do. What do you guys do? And then you'll get either 12 of the same answer that are like, oh shit, I'm really doing this wrong. Or you'll get 12 different answers and you're like, oh, I have no idea what the right answer is. The answer is there is no right answer. We all have what works for me and the hours that I can spend in the booth or want to spend in the booth or can spend in the booth are very different from working mom who's got 3 kids at home, who is also running to 12 other, like, we have no idea why so-and-so does it this way. So we can ask for perspective, but it doesn't mean we should try to do that. If it sounds like something you want to try it. If it feels like, oh man, if it kicks something in or inspires you, like, hey, that could really work. Maybe I'll give that a shot. Yeah, that totally works. Or, oh, I give that a shot. That really doesn't work for me. I'm just going to stick with my getting an hour done a day, and that's what's working, and that's okay. Because if it
And you
works for
know,
you, it works for you.
Johnny Heller said that on the
Did he?
call.
Yes. I
He
actually
gave
am
you
halfway through
permission.
that, but I'm sorry, Johnny, I didn't finish the interview
he
yet.
he said something that I never considered, which is ridiculous, because I'm the one that said filter everything through your own knowledge. I was talking about reaching out to publishers and how many demos, and I took some demos off my website because I'd heard advice to only have such and such demos. I always follow advice, because when you start in this job, there's all these people that are like, listen to the experts, we know from, we're trying to help you, which is valid and a good point. But you take it when you're new as, okay, I'm going to follow all the rules. I'm not going to be one of those people that screws up and doesn't listen. So then you never get to the point where you think, oh, I'm going to start breaking some rules, because you're trained well and you don't want to screw up and be one of those people that's not professional. But then Johnny said, when I said, oh, so I changed my publisher letter, and then I changed it and I had a spreadsheet and Johnny goes, are you that malleable that every time somebody tells you something? And I was like, yeah, because I was following the rules.
Yeah, but what rules and how many and from how many different people? And I agree with you that when you're starting out and you're looking for things, or if you're in a rut and you need some help and need to kind of seek advice, then try it all on for size. But remember, we are all individual artists. So don't forget to put that into the mix of the things. What speaks to you? We don't all like the same kind of art. You might like modern conceptual art. I might like the old romantics. So you have to take what works and leave what doesn't, and experiment a little. And maybe you switch it up a couple months in, or, maybe you want to try it all, but eventually you have to allow yourself in and own it and own who you are and allow yourself the hardwood damn floor.
I'm getting those hardwood floors, by the way.
Yeah, but that works in everything, that works in everything. It's, and when we spoke, I don't remember, and I don't want to, we talked a little bit about authenticity. And that can sometimes be a curse word, because I feel like I know that you had some stuff out, but also you publicly spoke in social media about some of that. So is it okay to?
Oh yeah, no. Honestly, I pretty much don't have any secrets at this point.
Well,
it's
I just wanted to ask, because you talked about it at first, and it was something that was really frustrating you, because I think you also felt like that your authentic self isn't always well received. And that sucks, and that just means you're with the wrong people. And because if what otherwise, what are we doing? And how do we take our authentic selves and make it work? And maybe that's where you take some of the advice. But first you have to really look at, well, who am I? How do I like to talk to people? What do I want out of this? What do I see for myself? And then how do I make that happen? And so from there, if you have to take Johnny's advice or somebody else's and say, okay, well, take this and put it in email like this, because it'll come off this way instead of that way. But then at least it's from you. It's a piece of you. It's not what somebody else said because they said it. And I think in that way, we take our authenticity and can make it work for us. And it doesn't have to be a cuss word.
And keeping it simple. Unfortunately, and I figured out the answer after I wrote that. Unfortunately, the way I figure things out is by writing them publicly. I've stopped writing for the Elephant Journal when I figured out just how many thousands of people read the thing. But the answer, you said it in this call, is when you pare it down to what you kind of know is right, it's simple. And at the time, I didn't realize that the feedback I was getting, it was genuinely people trying to help, but it was people that are not like me. And they were trying to help me in the way they would want themselves to be helped.
Right.
And I was taking everything as, because I've got what you said, stories that
Right. You were taking it to mean that you should change and be like
yeah,
this.
because I'm still the
Yeah.
girl that was called into the principal's office and told, do not answer the questions anymore. You need to give the quiet people time to shine. So
Well,
I've
that's on the
spent,
teacher. The teacher can call on
yeah,
whoever they want. The teacher
I've,
that's the teacher's responsibility,
yeah,
not
yeah, thank you
yours.
very much.
Yes.
But I've spent like 90 years of my life trying to like let the quiet people shine. And I love the quiet people. They're nice, but I'm getting old and crabby, and I need to just do what I want to do now. And it's great when people like Johnny and you, it's not like we needed to be given permission, but sometimes you do need
Sometimes we
somebody to
do.
point it out.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
know I did. I mean, I have to remind myself. I remind myself often.
yeah,
And, if you can find the right handful of people to keep you on track with that, and the people that understand who you are, or even the people that don't, or that are completely different than you, but
yeah.
respect you for who you are, and say, hey, get out of your head. You got this. You know who you are. Go be it. Go be Wonder Woman.
And
Go do
the more you focus on the good, right?
it.
Because it's what you said, you have a few things that you're struggling with, right? Because
Hmm.
my life has become like a, literally, I told before this call started, I told Nicole that basically I spend most evenings Googling chronic fatigue syndrome at this point,
Hmm.
because like literally barely get, but it's because I'm trying. And it's what they say about health. The more you start thinking you're sick, the worse it gets. It's diet. The more you try to starve yourself, the more you want to eat. Anything
Yeah.
you fight is going to persist because you're putting pressure against it, and law of return or whatever.
Right. Absolutely.
But if you dive into like the things you love, like Emily Lawrence's hardwood floors, oh my God, I'm so
Mm,
jealous.
I
If you,
know.
but then your focus goes to that. If you go in the booth
Hmm.
and you don't have any time and you have to finish 2 chapters and you're
Mm,
so stressed out, and then you get to the second chapter and it's so profound, and the
hmm.
words that
That's
are
that marriage
focus.
of, I guess it's also be where you are. Be
Yeah,
here now.
so hard.
And some days that's going to be, oh my God, I'm crazy and totally overwhelmed. And some days you get to take that deep breath, even when you're crazy and overwhelmed and forcing yourself in the booth. If you're lucky, you get that marriage of gravity moment. And we don't always, and that's okay too. And we work through it. And because we're professionals, we know how to do that.
Yeah,
But also, as not just artists, but as human beings, I think something I've been working on and reminding myself is again allowing ourselves. I'm trying really hard to carve the time. Like the hustle is really important for a while. And it's always us. I don't plan to lose my hustle, but
yeah,
I also am at a point where I chose to do this work and do it full time and create this career because I also knew it could feed a life I dreamt of, which was a creative life doing something I loved.
yeah,
And for a long time, and was necessary for quite a while to build the business and get myself to a place where I feel like, okay, I think I'm living this life, but I don't have any time for life. And so now it's about finding the balance. And it doesn't mean remotely at all to look any gift horse in the mouth or to be ungrateful for work. I mean, is there ever anything, as we especially are like, oh my God, we're terrified there's never going to be enough work. So this is not to say that, I don't want as many books as want to come my way, but I also know the importance of a balanced life
yeah. See, that's
outside of the booth.
what you have to do right there, and everyone's done it. I think Hillary did it as well. We all do it, and it's part of this industry. You have to be very, very careful, because of course I want work. Anything, come to me. I'll. But on the other hand, we are all striving for the same thing, aren't we? We're all striving for to have the time to relish the jobs and to still have the time to make homemade pizza with our guy or our girl or our
Yes.
dog and watch and have a
Yes.
movie night. That's like,
Yes.
and we shouldn't,
And
and
to
we
take
should
a
shout
week.
that from the rooftops. It's
Absolutely.
the only thing to be proud of isn't the grind. The thing to be proud of is to get the things that the grind was meant to get you launched onto in the first place. I think winning is when you can, like, you're the boss of the grind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and that means that there are times when, like, I've started to try to see how I can play with my schedule to make room for life. And with that then allows me the room to, if a really great book comes in and I want to sneak it in there, I've got the time and the space to do it. And so maybe I do have 3 weeks where I'm pulling my hair out schedule wise, but also I'm really happy because there are 3 great books I want to do. And then I can have a breather, or it puts choice back in my hands.
Yeah. And
Basically.
it's individual. I think Jess Herring, I can't remember, Jess, if I'm misquoting you, tell me, but she started doing some weird schedule. Like she works 25 hours a day, 6 days a
Wow.
week, and then takes like 4 days off. I know I've got that wrong, but it's something like that. Something
Right.
that,
But
like, I
again, and
could
that
never
works
do.
for, but if
Yeah.
that works for her and that's how she's like, but that's exactly it. And
Yeah.
we all have to find what works for us with, pairing that with giving us the right amount of energy for our craft, respect for our peers, and gratitude for the job and the producers and the publishers and the authors and the independent work and the casting directors and the editors and the engineers and all of that for, working in tandem with us to create this stuff. And the magic of life outside of all of it, because it all informs itself. It all
Yeah.
informs itself, you know? And if you're only in the booth telling stories, then you have no nakedness to bring to the stories, unless you're naked in the booth, which, hey,
Yeah.
we are. And that's
Seems
okay too.
awfully uncomfortable to
But you
me.
know what I mean? Like you have to, you have to experience life to be able to bring life to the stories that we tell too. And so I think, and again, those of you out there grinding and doing, and it maybe, and there's a lot of, I have some really good friends, even outside of audiobooks, that their whole life is about the grind. That's what they came here for. That's what they feel like they were born for. And that is what they will do until they die. And that's what they want. And that works for them. So I do not disparage that. I only say, find what works for you.
Yeah, and
And
the
if there's,
grind is good as long as it doesn't feel like a grind. The minute it starts to feel like a grind,
yeah,
then you're not showing up. Because I can grind
yeah,
until, like, I physically
yeah,
die. And
yeah,
I've
yeah.
always been that way. And
And that's not going to help
yeah,
the book either. It's not going to
yeah,
help the book. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help the people around you. It's not going to help your loved ones, your animals, your anything. It's not going to
yeah,
help any of it. So,
yeah. I love that. And I love that you, we're coming towards the end, so I don't want to take too much of your time, but I love that you, because what really, really, really struck me, guys, and talk about giving permission, was when you went through, we all get our glitches, and I always get the emails from people that are like, publishers aren't hiring me. Why is everyone else succeeding? Why can't I get books? I've got a dry spell. I've got a lot of dry spell calls all the time. And you talked about how you had, when you came to that point in your career, tell me if I'm misquoting you, where you didn't feel good about what you were doing or secure about it, you hired in help and actually gave yourself the grace of engineers working with you. I thought that was amazing. I thought that was,
and it's funny, based on what we were just talking about, I was in a loop of over directing myself and over engineering myself and worried about my breathing and this and that. And I couldn't. And I was coming home. This was before I actually had a home studio, and I was going into a studio or renting a studio for myself. And I was coming home, and this was a couple of years into my hustle. And this was probably at the height of my hustle. and really like feeling like I was getting the momentum I was asking for, but then totally in my head about all of it. And I was coming home to Martin miserable and unhappy. And I'm pretty sure at some point he was kind of like, yeah, you don't seem too happy about this. And I was like, I had just quit everything to make this my life a few years ago. Like I asked for this. This is what I wanted. And I was like, why am I miserable? Like
Yeah.
I wanted to do this to be happy because I love this work. And so the fact that I was coming home unhappy was a huge red flag and made me stop and say, okay, what do I need to do differently? How can I fix this? And the first thing I needed to do was to get back to a center, a grounded center of just being a narrator, because I was too in my head, like, because now we're all our own producers and directors and engineers and all of it. And I didn't start out that way. I was very, very lucky. And I started out at a time when, I got hired by a studio to come in, drop my bag, sit in a chair, open the book, and have somebody on the other side of the glass recording and giving me some feedback. Oh, hey, I heard a stomach noise, or, oh, hey, you missed that word, or great take on that sentence, but let's try it this way. And that was my first year and a half of audiobooks. And then and I didn't know everything. And it was some of that was because of where I lived. And I lived in LA at the time. And it's possible in LA and New York and in
But
certain
it's good training
parts of
if you can get it. I remember I
oh,
started in the
yeah.
studio. It's good training
Yeah,
because you start
absolutely.
listening from the editor's ears.
Well, and you get this sort
Yeah.
of, you get the bar, where the bar
Yeah.
should be professionally. And so, but because I started that way, and now, a couple of years in and quitting all the day jobs I had because this is what I wanted to do, and really making a go at this and getting the work and making sure I knew everything I had to do engineering wise, and then trying to like tell the story the way I wanted to tell it, and feeling like at this point in my career, I should be growing as a narrator, which made me think I had to sound like other people. In my head, I thought,
Mhm.
well, if I'm growing as a narrator, then I should be more like this person I love listening to, or I should be able to tell a story like this person I love listening to. And I would get in the booth and I would hear myself and I'd be like, no, that doesn't sound right. No, I got to be more relaxed, or I've got to do it this way. And I was so twisted. I was so twisted up, and every noise and everything, it was like being, and because I would like hear a noise and immediately like hit the button. Oh my God, was that on the mic? Did we hear it? Did we not? And to the point of where every time I heard a noise in my head, it was like a nervous tick, and it made me like rage. I mean, rage. And so I had to clear all of that shit out. And so, but I also, I don't know how many people can identify with this or not, but sometimes, or at the very least when we're just starting out, kind of live paycheck to paycheck. And so I didn't feel like I had any money to really throw around either. But the best thing I could think to do for myself was hire an engineer to come in and at least run the session so I could get out of my head and just be a narrator again. But for a long time, I had that idea in my head, and I thought, I can't afford that. I can't do it. Who am I? Who do I think I am that I've got like money to throw around? I got bills to pay, and every paycheck, every cent counts. And but then I had this moment driving home one day of like, well, because also my ratio when I'm self-recording is very different than when you have someone else doing all the engineering
Right.
for you.
When
And
you've
I
got a
thought,
witness that you'd be embarrassed to Skype
yeah,
off every 3 minutes.
well, yeah. And also
Yeah.
it's the time saver.
Yeah.
And I had this moment driving home of like, well, shit. But if I take a little bit out of each book to pay an engineer, I can do those books faster, in less time, in less days, and then I can take on more books. And so actually, it would all work itself out. And so I took 3 months where I brought in some engineers. Some were friends I knew, some were people that were recommended, and just had them come into the studio and run the sessions for me. And immediately I was able to kind of settle back in. And because I would get there, I was like, oh, did you hear that? They're like, we didn't hear anything. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not a noise I have to worry about.
Yeah.
Or, because I had this level of quality in my head because of how I started in these professional studios of, I want to be the person who turns in clean audio as best I can. And so I was worried about that. And I felt like I had a reputation to maintain. And then, you get very self-directy and people were like, that sentence was fine. Or, okay, hey, I see what you changed on that. Good catch. And I just learned how to get back into a groove. And in that time, two things happened. One of the books I wanted to do, I was assigned to do was a memoir. And it felt really important for me to I wanted to be really conversational with this book because it was a really personal story. And I loved this book so much. And I wanted to tell it in the way that my favorite narrators tell it. And a good friend of mine who shared a studio next door is also a great director and a great actor. And I said, hey, I was like, do you have any time? Like, can you sit in on at least this first session? And he also had started as an engineer. And so he had time to sit in with me on the first half of the first session as I started. And man, I was in my head and I couldn't get those sentences out the way I wanted to. And I just thought, shit, I'm not doing justice to this book. And he actually is someone who has a very conversational delivery in his narration. And he stopped me and he said a couple of things that really helped. One was, if you're worried about your own performance, you're not paying attention to the book.
Yeah, you're not
So,
lost in the character.
You've got to let the book tell you where it wants to go and be in the book that way. And he also said, you're right. You're not necessarily super chill, relaxed conversationalist like I tell a story, but I don't get the books you get. He said,
Right.
I get very specific books for very specific things. He's like, you get this and you get that and you tell this kind of story.
Thriller edge. You got an edge in your voice on your demo with the thriller that would kill to be able to reproduce. I can't get it.
But you have your own. You have your own.
I'm more conversational, and it's some people like that, some people, but you've got the thriller tone like the queen.
But there are people who can't stand the sound of my voice and can't stand the way I tell a story. And there's always, no matter what I sound like, there will always be those people. But he reminded me that it wasn't about me trying to be another narrator. It's like, you got hired for a reason.
Right. They hired you for your voice.
They hired
and your
you
tone.
for you. Yeah. Do what you do and let the book guide you. And I mean, I feel in some ways, I'm like, oh, shit, I'm just admitting this all over the place. Now it's going to be on YouTube forever. But I mean, hey, sometimes we lose sight of that, no matter how professional you are. And sometimes you get it. And so and then after a couple of months, honestly, after 2 months of that, and after his very thoughtful help, I was ready to go back alone. Like I think I canceled my last book that I had scheduled with the engineer because he was like, oh, my days are kind of screwy. I don't think I can have. I was like, you know what? We're good. I'm good. I'm kind of ready to get back to this myself.
I love that.
But I knew I needed the help, and it got me back to the enjoyment. You lose it because we love this. Nobody's doing this work that doesn't love it, because why would you if you don't? It's a lot of work. It's hard work. It's not making anybody rich. It can make us a beautiful creative life, and it does for many of us. And that is the thing I'm very grateful for. But none of us are here that don't love this work. I truly believe that, because otherwise, why?
But you've again channeled the god Johnny Heller. You've again channeled basically that. I mean, because you said, okay, you don't have the conversational tone. I've just admitted to the whole YouTube universe that I don't have the edgy bit to the thriller voice that I wish I had. But the thing is, it doesn't work when I try. And I've been trying to fit the genre. I've actually been the one posting, how do you fit a genre? But you're right. The magic is in when you stop, when you just work with what you've got.
When you do what you were hired to do.
Yeah.
And again, that is why there is room for all of us. And you know, we don't always get every book we want, and you know, but also I truly think and believe and have experienced in this community that, you know, when you see who else does and you listen, you're like, oh my God, they were perfect for this, you
Yeah.
know, or however that. And so that's it. That's it. And I listen to the narrators I like for my pure enjoyment and because I do grow and it does help, you know, it's all educational. And I will always have room to grow. And there's a very fine balance between, and I honestly think this is probably the first year in 10 years that I can accept and own a certain level of what I bring to the table. At the same time, forever knowing there is plenty of room to grow and things I could totally stand to learn and keep learning and keep growing with in my craft and in narration. And sometimes you learn it from a book in a magical moment. Sometimes you learn it from a coach or a teacher or a conversation. And so, yes, but I did get help when I needed it. And because I knew that I was coming home from something I absolutely loved, really miserable, and that was wrong.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so I challenge you now, after all the wisdom packed into this call, what final word of wisdom would you like to leave for our YouTube audience who's going to watch this in, say, 60 years?
mm,
No
give
pressure,
yourself.
obviously.
I wish this, I hope that in 60 years, every single soul in all of the world gets this opportunity to give yourself permission to be who you are and tell your story.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, I immeasurably the call that you had with me, but I cannot put my finger on it.
Mm,
When we compare coaches, we say, oh, this one really helped with this. And we compare all the time. All of us do. Oh, I just had a coaching session with so-and-so. It really helped with this. Or do you want to go see so-and-so? They can, and they're all different. I could not explain to somebody. I was raving
mm.
about the call after I had it with you. And they were like, well, so what did she, and I couldn't explain. I was just like, she just made everything better. I was like,
I really, that makes me very happy. I don't, you know, when you reached out, I don't know. I feel like calling myself a coach isn't necessarily the right thing because I don't necessarily want to coach your performance or this, or even am the most knowledgeable business person at this point, especially with all the other people out there that are so business savvy or that are so social media savvy and all that. But what I was talking to Martin about this after your call, because you opened up something for me and giving me the opportunity to speak with you in that way. And I feel like the best use of what I can bring is that if anybody, I would like to be your spirit guide. If you need a spirit guide, I'm your girl. That's probably the most I can help because it's really about this stuff in here that I could have a conversation about or that I loved talking about because I know what that kind of work has done for me. It's not for everybody. And, you know, people might hear that and think, you're a crazy girl, keep me away from her. But
maybe
that's, you know,
25% of the people, but then there's the other 75% where this stuff takes so much time and mental energy and focus that
yeah,
we
yeah.
need. And clearing that stuff up can make all the difference in the world. All
Well,
the
I'm
difference.
so very, very glad that it was helpful. And
Yeah.
you know, yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for having me and
Thank
for
you.
letting me talk a lot. Two Italians. We got two Italians
Yeah.
talking when the hands are going and
I
the whole
know there was
thing.
no, I know I've learned not to do the hands because if I have the Zoom background, I look like a floating head.
Yeah, I have clearly not learned how to do that. If I'm actually talking to you in my booth, I'm very quiet when I'm recording, but not when I'm talking. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much for
Thank you,
this
Nicole.
and for
This is
having me.
wonderful. I'm going to re-listen to this call whenever I feel manic and weird and crazy. So thank you
I'm
so
glad.
much. And thank you for joining, everyone. Loves and
Thank you
kisses
all
all
very much for
around.
listening. Have a
Take
great,
care.
great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Nicole. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Anticipated washboard rhythm song. Come on, everybody, tap along. First you scrub-a-dub, then you tap and rub. You might have to yell when you hear the bell ring out loud.